try and keep it interactive. I don't want kind of people to be too bored with my slides, and actually there's too many slides, so I will run through some of them in detail, but it's just to run through today introducing the Admin Competency Toolkit, which was we launched at our Celebrate Admin Day, which hopefully lots of you managed to get to in September. So Miranda kind of introduced it briefly on that day, and this is just to give a bit more information and then to kind of run through what the next steps are. Again, all the information is available on the internet, so we can share the links in the chat. But and again, if there's any questions, then happy to take those at the end. But or if there's anything kind of pressing, if you raise your hands, then I'll try and pick them as we go along. But so yeah, if I could just ask everyone to go on mute, and then if you've got any questions, to raise your hands as well. Let me just pull up the slides. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen. Okay, can people see the screen? My slides?
Yeah, we can see them.
Brilliant, thank you. So just as a bit of background, so this is, as I say, this is the kind of admin competency framework. It was based on a set of agreed competencies that are linked to various bands within the organisation, but focusing mainly on bands 2 to band 7. And this came from a national programme of work that Mira, who's our Chief People Officer, led on, and it was around our booking teams and thinking of kind of planning the recovery work. So they wanted to put in a kind of national framework for booking teams to support with a kind of competency framework and career development. But the way it's been designed is to roll out to all admin roles, both within the clinical divisions and within corporate areas. So this, as I say, was designed as a national tool, and we're now kind of implementing it across all organisations in the NHS. And then just in terms of how we designed and planned to roll it out within this organisation, there's a formal steering group which is chaired by Mira and Miranda, who's our COO, who are kind of there as our exec professional leads for admin. And then we have in that group representation from operational management and workforce, as well as staff side, who've helped kind of the development and the rollout programme, but also the events like the Celebrate Admin event, which, as I say, was held in September, but we're looking to have this as an annual event as well. And then the purpose of the toolkit is to support our admin colleagues, their growth and dual development as well, but also to have clear and consistent standards across roles and sites as well. Kind of working through the toolkit, which I'll go through in more detail, is kind of meant to be held in a one-to-one conversation. So line managers and the staff member will kind of run through the toolkit, either self-assess or assess together, and then discuss kind of how you kind of rate yourself against those competencies. If there are any gaps, then putting in support in place. But it also helps with, let's say, for example, you're a band 4 and you're thinking about the next part of your career journey, then you can look at what's next in the career ladder, what those competencies are, and then how you can support your development to kind of help with going for promotions in the future. So the admin skills and toolkit is comprised of 3 main components. One is the competency framework, and this has the core skills, knowledge and behaviours for each band. There's the training and development guide, which has a training matrix, career pathways, which help staff to navigate their development. So similar to where you have conversations around your personal development plan in your appraisal, this actually has a bit more of an in-depth conversation, but toolkits to help you with thinking about your career. And then also the personal development guide, which helps to consider kind of where your career will take you next. And I'll kind of run through each of these separately. So as I say, it's based on 5 core competencies, which are putting the patient first, using your tools effectively, changing and improving, managing myself and developing others, and then working as a team. And then within each of those 5 core competencies, they're demonstrated in 3 ways, which is based on your knowledge, your skills, and behaviors. And then we set out a set of competencies under each of those headings. So, for example, with this one, this is a band 2, and the competency is putting patients first. And then under knowledge, it lists the competencies that sit under knowledge. So I have an understanding of issues relating to confidentiality. I know how to act on patient feedback to improve their experience. It lists a number of competencies linked to skills. So again, I ensure patient referrals are processed in a timely fashion. I know and apply the DNA and was not brought WMB policies to ensure patient records are accurate. And then again, with behaviours, then again, examples are: I ensure I maintain a professional approach at all times. I ensure I think about how I represent the trust. So with each in the toolkit, when you look at it in detail, you'll have for each competency, you'll have the knowledge, skills, and behaviours for, and then you will have this for each band as well. So if you're a band 2, then you would look at the 5 competencies and the knowledge, skills, and behaviours associated with each competency. So example, I won't run through all of these, but this is a band 3 with the different competency of using tools effectively. Band 4, this is the competency of changing and improving, and then it sets out the knowledge, skills, and behaviours for each of those. So you wouldn't need to go through every single one of these. You would pick the one associated with your current band and then run through that with your line manager. But again, there's no harm in, if you're a band 4 looking to think, actually, I feel like I'm ready to go to a band 5 role, then there's no harm in looking at what the expected competencies are of a band 5 to then think, are there any gaps to help with your career? And as I say, these go up to the band 7 level. So that's the kind of framework booklet. The next one is your personal development booklet. And this has kind of information around your personal development plan, how you set SMART goals. So similar to what you would do in your appraisal, but this is almost like a protected conversation going into it in a bit more detail. With this, you have all your competencies, and then you can score yourself against those competencies. So with each one, there are questions. You score yourself at 0 to 5, and then how you plan to develop in this area. So if there are things that you need support with, then you would run through this with your manager to get support into achieving those competencies where you feel there may be a gap. And then this again helps set out where your strengths are or where there are areas for development as well. And then again, similar to your appraisal, you've got a personal development template. So again, kind of what helps. So how I see myself, what situations do I thrive in, for example, what are my proudest achievements? And kind of various other boxes for you to work through. So it's quite an in-depth toolkit, but something that is hopefully kind of interactive for staff and managers to work together on. And then again, with this one, you have a training and development guide. So it's this one is a matrix. And again, I've kind of done a snapshot here of what is available, but there's a lot more information here. So for this one, it's the core competency is putting the patient first, and then what training is available to support you with those competencies. And then some of them are relevant for all bands, some of them may be relevant for more senior bands or for more junior bands. So for this core competency, for example, which is putting the patient first, some of the training examples are communication training, customer service training, speaking up safely, complaint handling, conflict resolution, child and adult protection issues. So these are all interactive. So you click on it, it will take you to an external website. So these are either courses, well, on this toolkit, these are national free training resources that you can link into. So if there's more information you want on managing complaints, for example, then you would go on this complaints management training, and that one's something that is determined useful for all bands 2 to 7. So I said that's one competency, but you would have that for all 5 competencies and the relevant training for each one as well. So there's a kind of a whole library of training and education opportunities for staff. The next slide, and I'm not sure if I've got Dan with me, that could probably talk to this one in a bit more detail. If not, I will run through, but we've added, so again, this is all part of the national toolkit, which obviously Kelly Redmond, who's GM for outpatients, and Mira, who both work here, kind of led on it. We've also added in information of what we have within our own organisation. So, and again, this is information and development opportunities that's available for all staff, but we just wanted to highlight what is available for admin staff. So all staff can have access to a coach or mentoring as well. So again, we would always encourage staff to kind of liaise with their line manager in the first instance. But actually, if you feel that you'd want some external coaching or mentoring to help with your career, then our learning and education team here we have a network of many trained coaches and mentors that you would have access to. So we really encourage staff to sign up to our coaching or mentoring services. We've got skill booster sessions and other kind of links to external agencies like NHS Select that people will have access to. So if you want to kind of have more information, then you can go to our intranet page, which is LGT Leadership Training, and then they'll list all the internal courses that you would have access to on top of the ones that are kind of nationally within the toolkit. And then we also have a number of apprenticeships as well, which again are open for people to apply for. We've got the Edward Jenner programme and the Mary Seacole programme, and then we also have the Operational Managers Development Programme as well. So lots of opportunities that we run internally that staff can apply for. And again, if you've got more queries on that one, then we'd encourage you to look at our intranet pages on leadership training or ask the team for more info. The tool guide also has useful information around the career pathway for staff. So probably within your own areas, you know what the next level is for a promotion, but this just helps to kind of set out the roles between bands 2 and 7. So they're quite generic in job titles, but so for band 2, we're looking at kind of reception roles or administrator, and then kind of going up to band 3 around potential kind of medical secretaries, ward administrator roles, and then going up into the different bands, so becoming more kind of supervisory roles or team leader roles, service manager, and then kind of beyond that, so up into kind of general manager. And for those that want it, you could kind of then move into kind of more senior positions and be our next chief exec, for example. So this just sets out the various roles to kind of think, actually, whilst I'm currently now a medical secretary, I might want to specialize in something, or I don't fancy going into line management, but actually are there other jobs that are more project roles? That means I don't necessarily have to line manage staff, but I could get a promotion. So just give some ideas of the different opportunities at different bands that are available. Oops. And then there's within the guide, there's just useful information to help with thinking around career and career support. So if you want to kind of have career conversations, some useful tips in terms of development of CVs, kind of looking at job descriptions for new roles and understanding where potential gaps are and how you can support that. So we're trying to empower staff to take kind of ownership of their career journey, but also putting in the support of how we can help you with kind of, again, from writing CVs to filling in job applications, to kind of how you can perform better at interviews as well. And then kind of linked with the career pathway, there's a bit more information linked to different specialisms within admin, because we obviously recognise that admin has a wide range of different roles. So again, kind of listing the jobs within bands 2 to band 7 in kind of administration, but transformation, corporate services, IT. So it just gives you, idea of whether you want to keep within the current specialty that you're in now, or whether you may want to move into a different specialty. So actually, you could either move sideways or upwards from, let's say, in administration, but thinking actually I really enjoy a project that I did on transformation or improving the patient journey. Actually, what are the roles within transformation? Is that something that I could move into? So again, this is all in the pack, which is on our intranet. So again, it's all there for people to refer to. And yeah, other career kind of areas in education and training, clinical governance within the clinical pathways, and then support services as well. And then, yeah, again, a bit more information that we have on apprenticeships as well. So what's available, kind of levels 2 upwards. And again, we have an apprenticeship team that if you're interested in any apprenticeships, then we've got them kind of going up to MBA level. But again, we'd be happy to kind of give a bit more information if you're interested in taking up an apprenticeship. So with the so that's kind of it on the toolkit. I'll if there's no show of hands, I'll kind of continue. So before we kind of rolled this out to the organisation, we also did a mini pilot in some areas just to see how that kind of went with some of our teams. So because we wanted to understand whether it was easy to follow, whether staff felt it useful, did we need formal training on it? So we did a pilot in a number of areas, both within corporate and clinical. There were 17 members of staff were involved. Everyone felt that the admin competency framework was a useful tool, especially kind of to help with career development. And some of the feedback was it gives a bigger picture of what's expected of you, but also a clear roadmap of where you are and where you can get to, or where you could progress to, and also a useful to use to match job requirements to the particular band I'm aiming for. So I'm going to kind of pause there just to see if anyone on here was involved in the pilot, and then maybe bring in. I'm just looking at the list to see who I might pick on. I don't know. Rachel, were you involved in recruitment?
Sorry, what was the question?
Whether you were involved in the pilot, Rachel.
I don't believe so.
Okay, I know some of the people in recruitment were involved in it, but yeah. So before we rolled it out, then we, as I say, we piloted it. The feedback was really positive, but in terms of training requirements, we thought we would do awareness webinars. It wasn't a need for formal training because I think the toolkit is quite easy to follow. But we have a working group that we will continue to meet. So if managers are on this call and think, actually, I need a bit more support, then you can, we'll invite you into our working group, and then we can think about whether we put in additional resources to support you in rolling this out. So, and again, if you've got a big team, so outpatients, for example, Kelly Redman is kind of managing this as a project. So we're supporting the team in helping to roll that out, and it could be that myself or people from the working group or HR business partners will reach out into the departments to help kind of roll this out further as well. So yeah, in terms of next steps, then I suppose it's a call to action is to kind of, now you're familiar with the tool, thinking about, if your line managers on this call is thinking about how you would roll this out with your teams. You can discuss it in a team meeting and then start to plan one-to-one conversations with your staff, but share the information in advance so they can start to self-assess. We did think about whether we did a stage process of rollout, but we know that we're kind of moving into winter. So we thought, actually, if we did it in a staged process, then people may kind of be launching in January, which is probably the worst time. So we thought we would go with a big bang launch. So when you're ready to do it, then everyone can kind of start to use the toolkit, and then we're here as additional resources. So if you're on the intranet, you'll have my details and Raj, who's one of our graduate trainees, that's heavily involved in the program. But all the HR business partners are up to speed and aware of it as well, so can put in additional support and resources. And then following today and next week's webinar, if there's questions that people have, then we'll also build FAQs and we'll put that on our intranet pages as well. So yeah, the more questions, the better, because that will help us build our resources to support you. What we're centrally, we're not asking for people to send in their personal development plans or anything like that. That's for staff to keep for themselves and to own. But what we are asking is for people just to complete an e-form to say that they've had their conversation and completed it. And then that will help us to track the rollout program to see where there are gaps. So if we're finding that all the clinical areas have taken this on and it's great, but we're finding that maybe IT haven't launched it yet, then we can put in some proactive support into those areas to help them launch it, because we think it's a brilliant tool that everyone should engage with. So it's just tracking the implementation to see where kind of who's doing it really well, or who may need more support as well. And then we'll start to kind of report on the take up and compliance as well. And again, some people may want to roll it out now and do it as a designated meeting just to focus on this one, or it could be that you're due your appraisal in the next month or two, and actually you may want to dovetail this in with your appraisal as well. And either is fine. I think work through the toolkit, but for me, I think it probably works better as a separate meeting, because then it is kind of a designated protected time to run through the toolkit in detail and have conversations about careers. Sometimes with appraisals, maybe the focus could be on your objectives from last year, and then the personal development might get a bit lost. So we'd kind of almost recommend having it separately, but again, it's for line managers and staff to think about how they want to roll it out. So we're not kind of being too prescriptive. You can do it either way. And then finally, just a kind of an array of pictures from our Celebrate Admin Day. For those that attended, I hope you really enjoyed it. So we've got some pictures here. So we had an event on both acute sites and invited in the community teams as well. As I say, this was in September, but we will look to have an annual event to celebrate admin and think about what we may do for future events. It could be that we have webinars about career journeys, whatever people would value, then we will put anything on. But yeah, that's a kind of a run through of the presentation, but happy to take any questions from anyone. And I'll stop sharing my slides. So yeah, is there any questions for anyone? I see Rachel in the chat that you put, yes, you were involved. So I don't know, Rachel, if you want to come in and give your kind of thoughts as someone who has used it.
Okay, so I think me and Izzy, we went through the toolkit, and what I did notice is that a lot of the points on there is very handy for someone who's going from a band 3 to a band 4. It's like it helps them work towards the points on the band 4 aspect. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Mhm. So we went through it, and I feel like it's handy for like if you was to write a job application for if you're applying for a band 4 admin post. So you know, like when you're describing what you do as a band 3, you can relate it to your band 4 post. So it was handy in that sense when we went through it.
Okay, that's really helpful. And did you find, because I know I've presented and it feels like there's so much information, and there, as I said, there are 3 packs. So it's kind of the toolkit, the PDP, and the kind of other things to support career development and things like that. Did you find it was kind of easy to navigate and easy to use, or was it kind of a bit too much?
No, it wasn't too much at all. It's as I was reading it, it felt like it was very quick to understand. It didn't feel like it was too much at all. I felt like when Izzy was talking about it at first, I was trying to understand it, but when we started going through it, it just made sense. So it wasn't difficult at all, and it wasn't too much, and it was pretty straightforward. So I think it's very handy.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. I'll just briefly share. So as I said, all the information we've got on our intranet pages. So I'll just share where that is. So actually on our, I think it's on our front page at the moment. So yeah, on the front page of the intranet, you've got the Celebrate Admin logo there. So if you click onto that one, it's just advertising the webinars for today and for next week. But if you click here, which is the Admin Skills and Development Toolkit, it takes you to this page. And then here has the competency framework, the training and development guide, and your personal development workbook. So again, if I click into one, then it will take you into your admin skills and toolkit, all the information, everything that I've kind of run through today. So it's all there, kind of ready for people to use. And then we've also got kind of a guide for line managers, so a how-to guide for line managers for people to use as well. And then we will add an FAQ based on kind of today and next week's webinars. If there are things that we think aren't clear, then we will kind of add that there. And then in terms of people have any questions, it's myself and Raj, as I say, who's our one of our graduate trainees who's been heavily involved in kind of organising the program and the rollout as well. Then we'll happily take any questions offline as well. But yeah, is there any other questions from anyone or concerns, or if there's any kind of line managers as well that kind of have questions about rolling it out? I've seen in the chat, yes, I'll send out the slides to everyone. But yeah, so the slides, as I say, they're snapshots from the toolkits that are on the intranet. So that I've just taken them as pictures, but all the information is within the 3 toolkits which are here on the intranet. But yeah, I can send the slide deck out as well. That's no problem. Okay, you're a very quiet group today. Kind of by no questions, and I'm assuming it's kind of all quite clear. It's yeah, I suppose the next bit is just kind of a call to action. So for those who are managers, as I say, I think it's discussing this in your team meetings, but planning how you roll this out with your staff members and booking in those one-to-one conversations with your team members. So it's now it's kind of asking you to do the next steps. For those who are staff, I think look on the intranet pages, familiarise yourself with it. You can start to do a self-assessment, but actually, again, as this is around your career and your development, you can be proactive and talk to your line managers or your supervisors. Actually, I'd really, value a one-to-one meeting with this, and then kind of be proactive in trying to book something in the diary with your managers as well. And again, as I say, if you feel that you want additional support, then we have the coaching and mentoring scheme as well. So there are, I don't know the numbers, but I know there are lots of trained mentors and coaches across the organisation. So yeah, please feel free to sign up, and then you can get additional support. So your line manager would be your kind of the first port of call. But again, if you're, as I say, if you're a medical secretary thinking, actually, I really want a job in workforce, then it could be that one of my HR business partners or myself could be a coach or mentor for you to think, actually, how can we help you navigate your career into a slightly different field? Similarly, if you wanted to move into IT or transformation, you could be coached or mentored by someone in that profession as well. So it's a great opportunity to think how you could navigate your career, that maybe your line manager may not be the best person to support because they're a general manager or an operational manager, but not a specialist in IT or workforce or finance. So it just is an opportunity to kind of think about career progression differently. Okay, if there's no other questions, then I'll kind of end it there. But or if anyone wants to stay on afterwards, then I'm happy to kind of pick up a one-to-one question. Oh, yeah, Faiza, do you want to come in?
Hi. I just wanted, it wasn't really a question, but I just wanted to say thank you for making this available today, because I'm in one of those posts where there's not really any career progression. I'm the only business support assistant for my team, and having this available just allows me to see that there is trajectory if I do change my mind about where I'm settled in with, and just makes it really easy and bite-sized. I think it is definitely sometimes overlooked in terms of career paths and how much sort of projection we have in terms of movement. Sometimes we feel like we have to make lateral moves into something else. So it's just really nice to have it set out in a clear way, especially when it can be quite overwhelming when you want to change roles. So just want to say thank you.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And I think, I mean, that is the purpose of it. I think we've kind of recognized that within the professional groups, you've got, within nursing, you've got quite a clear career pathway. So you either move on upwards in the management route and you become a matron, ward manager, matron, head of nursing, or you may specialize and become a clinical nurse specialist and a nurse consultant. But it's quite a prescriptive profession, and you've got, Louise as your chief nurse. With admin, it felt like there wasn't anything as clear. So we want to own it as a profession.
Yeah.
So that's why we've got Miranda kind of spearheading this, and she is really passionate about it. So that's kind of what has driven the Celebrate Admin Day. But actually, it's celebrating and valuing the staff, but actually then putting the toolkits in there where it is. It doesn't come naturally, and recognizing, as I say, the moves across from the clinical roles as well as the corporate roles. So again, if you're kind of stuck in your careers, as I say, your line manager first port of call, but absolutely, it's over the years I've had access to coaches and mentors, and I've stuck within workforce. But actually, I know lots of my colleagues that I've worked with over the years have gone from workforce into operational management roles, and now they're coups in different organizations, for example, but they've had support to get them thinking about their careers and how they can move from one area to another, either. And I think sometimes people think if you're going to change your profession, be it, let's say, workforce into operational management, do you have to go down a grade or down 2 grades to get that experience? Yeah. Or actually, can you do a sideways move? And I think those kinds of questions and navigating that is probably a lot more easier with a coach or a mentor, especially if it's in that profession that you want to move into. It's just someone to help guide you and give you opportunities. So it could be, people that are wanting to move into workforce may need a bit more exposure into employee relations or recruitment or whatever it can be, and a coach or a mentor may help with kind of opening up those opportunities as well. Okay. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll stay on for a bit if people want to hang on, but otherwise, thank you very much, everyone, and good luck with using the tool. I hope it kind of gets used and people really value it. But if there are questions, then yeah, please do send me an email. We've got another webinar on Tuesday next week, which will be myself and Kelly Redman, who will present it. But outside of that, as I say, we have a working group that meets regularly, and we can invite managers into that one as they decide to roll it out within their team. So I'm happy to invite people into that group as well. Okay, thank you, everyone. Oh yeah, sorry. Do you want
Thank
to
you,
come in?
Eric.
Okay.
Hi, Eric. I have been a band 3 admin for a number of years. I'm trying to move to a band 4, but I'm not able to get shortlisted for an interview.
Okay. Again, I mean, that's something that again we can support with. So I have similar conversations with people that I coach and mentor as well. So it may be something that if you want to reach out to get a coach or mentor, that's something that they can help work through. I mean, normally I would recommend kind of looking at the job that you're trying to apply for, understanding kind of what the details are on the person specification. So if you're moving into a band 4 and it requires a specific qualification and you don't have it, then that's your kind of steer to say, actually, I need to have that qualification, and working with your line manager to see if they will support it. Or it could be that, is there an equivalent experience that you could gain or write in your application to help tick that box? So in terms of applying for jobs, it is always focusing on what the person spec is, because the line manager will go through that person spec to then tick to say, actually, do you meet the essential criteria? And then as long as you're ticking and you lay out your application form to say that actually you meet all the essential criteria, then it should shortlist you for that position. But again, if there are gaps, then it's thinking, actually, what do you need to do to kind of get you through to that next level? So with myself, for example, if I was looking to go into the next promotion, so within Workforce, we have CIPD. I'm a MCIPD, which is a member, but actually for the next level, I'd probably know that they'll ask me to be a fellow. So I know that I need to go to my professional body and upgrade to a fellow. That then ticks the box, and I would get shortlisted as long as I demonstrate all the other essential criteria. So it's, yeah, I would always kind of run through that. But again, if you've got a coach or mentor, I know I've helped with people looking through their application forms and steering them into saying, actually, you've missed this bit off, or you've talked about this bit, but you need to say a bit more about X, Y, or Z. So and a coach or mentor can help kind of support you with that. There is, depending on banding as well, we have equality advocates in the organisation, so they're band 6 upwards. But again, that gives exposure into recruiting and kind of understanding. So you are there on an interview panel, but it gives you exposure into asking questions and how people respond. So you get to kind of understand how to perform an interview as well. But again, I've certainly helped people that I've coached. I've done mock interviews for them and then given them immediate feedback of how they're great or what they need to work on as well. So that's something you could easily get with a coach or mentor. Hope that's helpful.
Yes. I am currently doing the apprenticeship, business apprenticeship, and I just feel that is it jumping from going from a band 3 to a band 4? Is that a really big gap?
Not particularly. It depends what the next role is and what the expectations are, and sometimes it may be how competitive the next role is. I mean, certainly people can, and again, people think around careers, you have to kind of go through each band in a linear fashion. That's not always true. I think if people are competent, then you can skip a band. I certainly went from, I mean, this is now showing my age, but when I joined the NHS, we had it wasn't bands, it was admin and clerical. So I think I was an ANC 4, which is probably the equivalent of a band 3, I'd say. But I'd gone from 4 to 5, and then I jumped to 7. and then I think I've went from band 7 to 8B. So I've in my career have definitely kind of skipped a few bands, which can be scary, but it's doable. So I think, yeah, band 3 to band 4. I don't think it's not necessarily a big jump. It depends what kind of the next role is and what you kind of need to demonstrate to get there. But I think, yeah, working through the toolkit, so you can, if you're band 3 at the moment, you can look at the competencies and expectations of a band 4 to think, actually, is there gaps and things that you need to kind of work through to gain, and then actually when it comes to, if you are then shortlisted, you can talk through the toolkit and the courses that you've been on. That shows that you're really keen and eager to get to the next level, because you've been on complaints handling and you've been on customer service, or whatever is deemed relevant for the next level. Then that's these are things that help show your commitment and eagerness to get to the next level. So, but yeah, 3 to 4 I think would be a natural progression.
Thank you.
Okay, right. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, like I say, the session on Tuesday will be a bit of a repeat of this one, but you're more than welcome to join again. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.